And we are live. Welcome to another NinjaBill and Friends. I'm joined tonight by Input.
What's going on, guys? I'm a friend.
There you go. And good friend of the channel as well, Crimson Raptors.
Hello.
Now, I should be joined by a few other people tonight as we go along. So when those guests arrive, they shall jump in. So a quick greeting to Masterbar, quick greeting to Adamantium Matrix. Thank you so much for joining us. And introduce yourselves, please.
My name's Input. That's N-P-U-T. You find me right here on YouTube under Input N-P-U-T. And you can find me on Instagram. And you can find me under Twitter or on Twitter. Not under Twitter, but on Twitter. At Ernest P. Whirl. Just like the guy who saved Halloween with a bottle of Miak. And I know it's probably getting old that I say that, but it's okay because it drills it home and it sticks it in your head. Also got a podcast over on my channel every Saturday night from 7 to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time called Tales from Teletran with 3 other co-hosts. One is actually on the show right here. His name is Crimson Raptors. And guys want to check that out, head over to the channel again every Saturday night from 7 to 9 Central Standard. And yeah, Crimson, I guess your turn.
Yeah, so I'm Crimson Raptors. You can find me at Crimson, like the color, Crimson. I don't know why I spelled that out. Raptors, Raptors, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Twitter. I've actually been a little more active on Twitter, kind of remembering how to use that platform. Instagram, I've been trying to figure out how to do stories, so that's been kind of fun, as well as uploaded a couple new videos on my YouTube, one that I live streamed yesterday on Saturday, and then also one where I did an unboxing that I filmed back in February. So finally got that uploaded as well. And NinjaBill, where can they find you?
Well, my name is obviously NinjaBill, and my channel here is NinjaBill 1000 on YouTube. On Instagram, it is also NinjaBill 1000, although I have not been using Instagram of late is because I can't seem to get back in. Doesn't recognize my telephone number, so I haven't been using it in a few weeks. But beyond that, you can find me on Twitter at NinjaBill01, Facebook and Shinobi Biru, and Discord as NinjaBill. And what a great week it has been. It's been a good week, and I hope it's been a great week for the rest of you that's listening in. That's also co-hosting the show with me. I hope everyone is staying healthy, staying safe, and enjoying life, such as it is right now. And that's about all I have to say about that. And we'll move on. So, first and foremost, have you guys picked up anything? We'll start with Crimson Raptors.
You caught me off guard. I would say recently I've gotten the Netflix Siege, Sideswipe, Hound, I think Scrape Face. Oh, I said it wrong. Scrap Face. And then I think I got a couple other things too. I put them in the live stream. I've kind of forgotten what they were. Fire Trap, one of the older Autobots from back in the day. Kind of looks like Brawn. I think it was Revenge of the Fallen or Hunt for the Decepticons. One of those. The Takara version of Skywarp from Fall of Cybertron that kind of looks like a Hotlink. Or looks like Hotlink, not a Hotlink. And Breacher as well. And I think that was Dark of the Moon is where Breacher came from.
Breacher, yeah. Dark of the, no, I think that was actually Hunt for the Decepticons.
I think it was. Well, I don't know. I missed out on a lot of the Hunt for the Decepticons.
He's a companion for the Transformers 2010 Sea Spray.
Oh, yeah, he fits in the back, right, of the amphibious assault.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, that's what I've gotten recently.
Oh, Giafangi was going to be one of the guests tonight, but I guess he can't make it. He said, sorry, I cannot make it. NinjaBill 1000, eating dinner with my family, and that's okay. We all got to eat, and what we do. Anyway, and fart maybe. We got to eat and fart. That's the things we got to do. What am I going with this? I don't know. But wait, there he is. It's a show.
Hi, NinjaBill, Input Crimson Raptors. Hello, everyone.
Hey, Tiffany.
Hey, so
and,
so I just wanted to stop by you and tell you guys that I'm about to have dinner with my family, so I can't stay. If you guys are still here in an hour, maybe I can jump back in, but I apologize, Ninja Bill, for not being able to stay here longer than a few seconds, but I just want to let you know that if I was able to join in and stay, then I most gladly would. So I hope
Okay,
you
no
guys,
problem, man. No problem at all.
yeah. So I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your trip, and until next time, thanks for having me on here, even if it was for just a few minutes.
Well,
Cheers.
TFN Geek, we're gonna have to dock it from your pay, okay?
No problem. No problem.
Adamantium Matrix says, "Hello, everyone. Well, can't finish cutting the grass. Just bought a new lawnmower and broke it. What the hell? Just for luck.
Oh,
Now,
Geez.
what kind of grass were you cutting there, buddy? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
you,
know how
you
you
better
feel.
use a yard. It probably wasn't a yard machine. That's what he didn't use.
We'll
I
see you
know.
later, Tim. Pinky.
I broke my weed whacker the other day. I had to order a new part from Amazon.
You'll get that in about 3 months.
Yeah.
What kind of
How'd it go, guys?
weed were you whacking?
I was,
Yeah.
believe it or not, I was whacking a weed that was growing in between two cement blocks, and that's what broke it, was the cement.
Oh, you could have said it was between a rock and a cement bark. Then it would have been between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, we get it.
I gotta go, guys. Thanks again. And take care.
Yeah, have a good night.
Bye.
Can we,
By Diavangi.
can we kick Crimson Raptors off the show for that joke?
You notice I said it right along with him, right? Because I knew right where he was going. Right where he was going. Anyway, input. It's your turn. What have you picked up? Unless you weren't done, Crimson.
No, that was I think that was and I got the Power Core Combiner Ice Pick as well, and I don't remember what his little Target Master guy was. Recoil maybe?
Huh.
But the little missile one. I'll look it up while you guys are talking. But anyway, yeah, that's also what I got. That's all I got.
Okay, but go ahead.
I ordered a bunch of stuff and nothing's come in yet, so I got nothing.
Oh.
So I got that's it.
So in other words, you have peace of mind.
No.
Well,
you can't have what you never had to begin with.
It sort of leads me in. This sort of leads me into one of the topics I was going to discuss tonight, which is the fact that, one of the benefits of being at home, as much as we all have been, is that we have actually had more time to spend with our collection. So my question is to you, gentlemen, is now that you focused more on the figures you already have, been playing around with them. What have you been doing with your collection during this time?
Input, you get to go first.
All right. So this be kind of like, I guess, a little long-winded, like everything. But anyway, so whenever I go run in the mornings, my the back of my mind starts to work, and I come up with like these really awesome stop motion scenes, and like I put music to them, and like when I hear a song come on, that's when the scene kind of hits me, so to speak. And so I've been just writing some scripts and doing some stop motion stuff with a lot of these figures that I initially bought to do stop motions with, and just never really got around to doing it, or lost interest in doing said stop motion or whatever. And now I've been going back to those and doing those. And it's basically what I've been doing with the collection.
Nice. And you, Crimson?
So I got some more shelves this year, and I got them up. I actually got five in total new shelves. Then I got one that I got back in December, but that was kind of the test bed. But I really want to be able to see my collection, and I've had my stuff in boxes and plastic totes, so many things still in package, and so I've actually been going through all that stuff that was packed up and finding a lot of figures that A, don't fit in my collection anymore, or B, that just don't strike joy for me. And I'm looking at it as like, okay, how useful is this figure for me in a stop motion animation? Or does this even like, is it only just for that, or is it something that I do want in my collection that works with it? So definitely been going through that and finding a lot of stuff, like a lot of animated things, a lot of classics, Transformers. Like I think I'm about ready to get rid of all of the Autobot cars, the classics, because I never took any of them out of the box. And there's just so many. I even have a lot of Bayverse figures, which I'm not a big Bayverse fan, but I don't even remember why I got them. Maybe they were a good deal on sale or something, but I have a lot of those, and it's just kind of going through that collection and finding out what really matters, because I have varying loves of different, stuff. Like it's not just Transformers, it's Godzilla, it's Gundam, it's Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, it's Terminator, it's, I have a very
eclectic collection.
Yes. So, but that's what I've been doing, and I've had a lot of time to go through it. But unfortunately, there's so much to go through, which is kind of nuts to really finally see all that everywhere.
Yeah, no, I get it. That's like I said. One of the reasons I brought up the topic is because I have had just that. I've had time to pull a lot of stuff off the shelves and clean them. Some of the stuff that the dust was so thick on there it could have covered Mount Rushmore. I mean, some of these have just been sitting around on these shelves for a long time, and I haven't touched them. And there were a few occasions, like let me tell you, the Leader Class, Revenge of the Fallen Leader Class Optimus Prime toy. Been a long time since I touched that one, and I was almost scared to transform it. I'm here to tell you, I was like, "Whoa!" I'm not sure the part is supposed to move like that. And so I have a lot of time. I've had a lot of time, and I got to tell you, this time has actually made me enjoy a lot of the toys that I haven't touched in a long time, even more than some of the new ones I have touched. So it made me appreciate them more, because some of the engineering on like some of those movie figure toys, a lot of people, give them shit, and that's okay. They like what they like and they don't what they don't. But I got to tell you, some of the engineering on those toys, man, just are impressive. It really is. To get to the state where they look just like an everyday vehicle. Some of those have really complicated transformation and really precise engineering. And like I said, it's just made me appreciate them a little bit more. You know what I mean?
Agree.
Yeah.
Oh, and that little Target Master, the missile launcher that comes with Ice Pick, his name is Chainclaw. I just found that.
Nice. And
that was gonna bother me if I didn't find it.
Just sit there and nag you until you get it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really why I brought it up. Is because it's one of those things where it's given me time to not only get a lot of stuff done around the house, but to just generally get stuff done. So and that's pretty cool. So moving on to some news, I saw the MPM 10 Starscream Decepticon Clones 2-pack has been announced, and I'm not really interested in the movie Masterpiece toys, but they do look good. I will say that they do look good. I saw those. I was like, oh, those, they look cool. Don't get me wrong, they look cool. I'm just. And also, there is apparently an electric bike or something that's been officially licensed. It features like I saw this on the TFW boards. It's an electric bike. It'll have like Autobot logos and stuff like that, or it's just a regular bike. I'm not sure. So
is it something that like would have been in the kids section at Toys R Us in the bike section?
Probably. Let me bring it up here real quick. Okay, it's Indonesia-based company Pacific Bike, via their Instagram account, has announced the release of an officially licensed Norris 2.0 Transformers Edition bike, featuring Autobot insignias and Transformer logos on it, and available in 3 color variants: orange, and black blue. It's priced at 41 million Indonesian rupee, which is $279 apparently somewhere. And it's still unknown if it'll be available globally, but still pretty cool. Hey, I distinctly remember that there was a company that did produce, like Transformers bikes or whatnot. Bumblebreeze, welcome. Hida Atarasi, welcome. Kato's Collection, welcome. Kato's going to be joining us by the by, so welcome. And so that I thought that was worth mentioning, that there's a bike out there, officially licensed bike. There was something else I wanted to talk about with the news. Can't remember what it was. Oh, I saw the Transformer rollout, the TR-02 Commander of Stars, the Cybertron Optimus Prime, that prototype. Have you guys seen that?
That is how you upgrade that figure properly.
Absolutely.
Damn. Wow. I was taken aback. You know how I am with third party, man. I took one look at that thing and fell in love. I'm telling you. That thing is
that going to be the one that wins you over, Ninja Bill? That's going to be the one, isn't it?
It's so tempting. You have no idea. I've been sitting there pulling up that picture like every hour, man. I'm not even joking, guys. I'm like stalking that shit. It looks beautiful. Even just as a gray prototype, I'm just thinking to myself, that is definitely Cybertron Optimus Prime. No ifs and or buts. That's what a masterpiece Cybertron Optimus Prime would look like. That's what an upgraded Cybertron Optimus Prime would look like.
And what's crazy about that prototype is normally I'll look at a grayscale prototype and be like, okay, that looks cool. I can see where they're going with this. I'll wait for the coloring. We'll see where it goes and blah blah blah. Looking at that one, oh my god, it's just like I already know it. I already see the colors on it. That metallic red, I could see it. The metallic blue on the helm, the eyes, the yellow eye. I'm just blown away.
Yep.
I can already
yellow
see
on the knees. I can see. I can see the bits of silver there. Man, I'm right there with you. And it does make me wonder if they're going to use like a clear blue plastic for the windows or not. Even painted ones will be just as good. Either way, for me, would be. I'm like you, Ed, but I'm right there. I'm just envisioning this thing. I literally sat there and pulled up the largest image I could on my computer and just sat there looking at every detail, imagining it just as you did. That thing has got me, man. That thing has got me. It's got my number. It's like they fucking knew. It's like, this is something even Ninja Bill can't deny. This is something he can throw in his face. They did.
They've been watching your live streams and they've been hearing you talk. They've seen your chats. They're like, we're gonna make this for him.
Got him.
Got him.
Exactly. They got me. I'm not even going to question it. They got me. that thing looks woo. And if you guys get one, man, I'll be man. I'm going to be so jealous. I might murder a sheet or something. I don't know.
Well, I have the Transform and Rollout Hova, which is their masterpiece jazz that you can make into either the toy version with wings or the cartoon version without. And I will say, if the build quality on this is anywhere close to that, then this is going to be really amazing.
Yeah, Hide says, the only reason I go with a 3P Galaxy Convoy is if it's smaller than the original. Why would you want something smaller than the original? The original was the best size.
Well, you see, he has this quarter scale Rain. I forget what her last name is from Gundam. Remember? So he's got that quarter scale. That takes up a lot of room. So he's got to have this small little transformer next to it.
There you go. Wait for the legend scale.
Right? I was gonna say, I hope this opens up more opens up third-party companies' ideas to doing more Transformers universes in Legend scale and Masterpiece scale and everything.
Yeah. This thing's got me, guys. I'm not even joking a little bit. This thing, I am damn tempted.
That's it. Ninja Bill's going third party. That's it.
Yep.
I am
Back it up.
damn tempted to use some of that money I'm getting just for this son of a bitch.
Well,
And
this makes you want to take that Galaxy Upgrade Prime from Siege and just run it over with a truck to go get this one.
No. I like that one too. Sorry, can't do it. No, I like that one too.
Well,
Look,
you know
Galaxy Convoy is one of my favorite Optimus Prime toys next to Superfire Convoy. It's like if I were to put a list of my favorite primes or convoys, Big Convoy would be, up there, Galaxy Convoy, and of course, Superfire Convoy. Those are my top three. Actually, I think Big Convoy would go under Galaxy Convoy. Come to think about it, yeah. And then there are a few others underneath that, but those three are top primes, in my opinion, that everybody should have in their collection. If you don't have one, well, I'm sorry. I see you, Kato. I see you. There he is. Thanks for joining us, Kato. But
thanks for inviting me.
He's alive.
friend. But yeah, that thing's, man, guys, that thing's changed me. That, man, I don't like change. I don't like it. It's got me loving third party. No, something's wrong.
Hey.
Ninja Bill gonna buy a
Kato.
third party figure.
Kato,
Don't
Gotta
change
start somewhere.
got your eyebrows, buddy.
That was a little wetter than I wanted it to be.
So welcome to the show, and introduce yourself for everyone out there, Kato.
I'm
As if
Kato.
they don't already know. Everybody knows who you are. I mean,
I don't know about that.
you're infamous. You are infamous, sir. Just deal with it.
Well, I don't know about all that, but hi. Am I the only one showing my ugly mug tonight?
Yeah, it looks
Yeah,
like
you can go to a Larkin icon if you want.
Let's see. Look at this. Boop.
There you go.
no icon.
Camden Dillard, welcome.
I need to update my icon. All that work.
I think that's the second time we've ever seen that icon.
Yeah. I purposely made sure I logged into the right account this time.
Yeah, I need to update mine too. I have ones that Will made for me. I just haven't uploaded them. Oh,
all that work that Brandon Jackson put into the logo, I need to show it off, and I haven't updated it on here because I'm rarely on my own account.
So,
Yeah,
Kato, how are you?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
What are we doing? I'm lost.
No, we're saying where do we find you, Kato? Where can we find you?
Right here. You can find me on just Google search Kato's Collection with a K, and something will come up. I think.
You hope so.
Yeah. Hopefully it's not been taken by some nefarious. Let me see. Let's check. What happens if I Google Kato's Collection?
Oh, great.
Kato.
Boy.
Like Pornhub. What?
It's
Hey,
Pornhub.
you don't know what I did before this. Yeah, we're good. Just Google Kato's Collection.
There you go. So earlier, before you joined, I had asked the others during this time. Like I had found that I found myself appreciating my collection much more. Have you found that during this whole thing that you come to appreciate your collection and figures within that collection much more than, say, previously to all this nonsense that's happening in the world?
Yeah, I found myself liking the stuff I already had because it was so hard to find something new. So yeah, I think so. I did take a lot of the stuff off the shelf and play with it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think it definitely makes you appreciate what you got when you can't get anything else, especially when you're worried about not making any money.
There you go.
Right.
There you go.
So
That's the truth.
yeah,
There you go. Thank you, Adamantium Matrix, by the by. He is in the chat and awesome guy. Go for everyone in the chat. We all know who he is here, but go check out his channel, watch his videos, like, subscribe, share his videos, all that stuff. Hit that bell icon because he's got some awesome content.
Yeah, he has a store, doesn't he have a store?
I was about to mention, he also has a Facebook store called Colossal Toys, and he will have that link available on his YouTube, which is Adamantium Matrix. Seriously, people, go check that out. ACP, welcome.
Hey, ACP.
And so that leads me into my next question, kind of, Cato, for you. Since I already asked them, have you picked anything new up? And you kind of already answered that, so we'll move on to the main topic tonight.
Picked up something new.
Oh, you did?
Something big.
You don't see that Optimus Prime Captain America?
Big ass Optimus Prime right there.
Oh yes, I'd forgotten. Silly
Captain
me.
Prime.
Captain Prime. Main topic tonight. I wanted to ask each of your opinion on, and hopefully the others out there in the chat will join in and add their opinions as well, because we all got them. You know it. What do you prefer in your figures? Do you prefer more cartoon accurate look, or do you prefer a more toy accurate look, or do you prefer a hyper stylized look for your figures? I'll start with Cato, since he was late to the show.
Oh, since I was late. I'm mixed on all that. It depends on what I'm going for at the time. So in my mainline masterpiece style stuff, I like a more toon accurate than toy accurate, because there's a lot of the toy designs that weren't that awesome as a kid, other than in nostalgia. But my first reach into the Transformers world was the cartoon, so I prefer a pretty close to toon accurate when I'm going for that. But at the same time, I really like hyper stylized stuff. To me, it's just something. There's something fun about it. So, like the TFC toys, Abominus, it's hyper stylized. I'm getting that new Predacang, the Kang Toys Predaking. I think Inutabi started calling it Predacang, so it's become a thing. And so yeah, I do like hyper stylized stuff, because I like stylized artwork, and to have that in a toy is awesome. But that's kind of the two I prefer. I prefer toon or just outrageous. Yeah,
all right.
That's my answer.
NinjaBill. So I think the host left the show because he's all on mute. Okay.
No, I'm here. I had some quick take care of, and I'm very sorry about that, Cato. I missed part of it. I caught up to where you said in that Predacang.
Yeah, essentially, I like more toon accurate or hyper stylized. Those two.
Nice. And you input?
I prefer the toy look more than than toon. That's simply because I know everyone prefers toon, and I understand why, because they grew up on the cartoon and stuff. But for me, the cartoon was 20 minutes, 30 minutes whenever I saw it. So when I went into my bedroom or in the living room or whatever and played with my toys as a kid, I was actually playing with the toys. So I have more attachment to that toy look than the cartoon look, because I spent most of my time with that toy look. Or with the toys, so that extends to the toy look aspect to it. And there are certain characters when I think about, like, say, Thundercracker, I think of Thundercracker in that dark navy blue that the toy was versus that bright shade of blue that he was in the cartoon. Now I will say I do love hyper stylized robots in general. I love all of that, and Transformers. I love Transformers, right? So if I have a choice, I always go with the toy accurate stuff. That's why I think I love Combiner Wars as much as I do, because they're all toy accurate combiners versus the show accurate stuff. But yeah, I'd go. I will go toy over tune, but I will go Transformer above all. How about that?
Yeah, it's neat that it's all based on what your attachment to the nostalgia is, right? I mean,
Hmm.
Right,
I think it's
absolutely.
and we've said it before. Transformers fans, we are the luckiest fans in the world, luckiest collectors in the world because we have so many freaking options. Like you can genuinely get a toy accurate or a tune accurate of pretty much whatever figure you want.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Totally agreed.
Yeah.
Totally agreed.
See, and that's where, it's kind of funny because like, I have an older brother and he grew up on Generation One, and so he got a lot of the toys, and you know, I was able to get some of those too, and then they eventually became mine, and but I really grew up because it wasn't on TV when I was growing up. Transformers wasn't, but we could go to the Blockbuster Video and go rent SOS Dinobots, War of the Dinobots, Transport to Oblivion, The Ultimate Doom, Fire in the Sky. Like we could, Plague of Insecticons, Heavy Metal War. Like those were those big box VHSs at Blockbuster Video. So I could know who those characters were. I never got to see the first episodes when I was younger. And that wasn't until Generation 2 came out with the stories from the Cybernet Space Cube, tell stories of the Transformers, and then those became like my Transformer. Like that was my G1 was Generation 2. And I got to know kind of more about like who these all were, and not all the episodes were kind of, pick and chosen, but the toys that were in the store didn't match the toys that were on the screen. But I fell in love with the characters that were on the screen. So sometimes my toys, like I had Red Alert and the G1 version, and they never made a G2 version of him, but I had that, and I was like, hey, there's this episode called Auto Berserk where Red Alert goes crazy. And I was like, that's awesome, because that made me like that character more because I had the toy of it, but I got to know who he was because of the episode. So I fell more in love toward the cartoon, even though I had those original toys.
Well, and then there's a whole slew of people that would prefer a comic accuracy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Patriot Prime says all the time that he was into the comics more than anything else. So maybe he has an affinity toward the comic versions because, I mean, let's face it, some of those comic characters have far different origins than the cartoon or the toy bios would give them. So,
and the cool thing about a lot of the toy looks were actually still based on the comic look, and vice versa too. Yeah. The only standout really off the top of my head would be Soundwave. Soundwave was originally more of a purple color, and then Megatron with the black helmet, the black shoulder cannon, stuff like that.
Yeah, and then you've got, like Hida said, you've got there's a whole generation of folks that grew up. We've got a generation of Dreamwave and IDW folks out there that would prefer an IDW or Dreamwave version, and I'm sort of in that vein, right? Because the Dreamwave comics got me back into the comics of them and got me back into the storyline, because at the time there was no real animated show that I was able to watch. Okay. So that's why I kind of like the IDW stylized stuff sometimes too, or the Dreamwave.
See, and that was what was kind of cool, is that I don't know how I got involved in the Marvel Transformers. I remember reading those stories. I don't remember my brother having any interest in the Marvel comics, but I do remember going to the comic store, and I remember having the number 70 Wolverine that had the Savage Land Sauron story arc with Wolverine. So I remember having that comic, but so somewhere along the line I had to have asked, is there a Transformers comic? And maybe was turned on to, hey, here's some old Marvel ones from a few years back, right? But when I got Generation 2, when those comics came out, because that was mostly after a lot of the show stuff had kind of run and fizzled out, but I was gaining those comics of Generation 2, and I was like, this is really cool and totally different, because it's extremely violent in there, and like it's almost like the Netflix Siege situation, or an IDW Phase 2 is kind of what that Generation 2 comic was. It was totally different than any comic I'd ever read that was Transformers related. Like, you could see Wolverine tearing up Sentinels and stuff, but you'd never see the Autobots just mowing down Decepticons and vice versa. So that was a really cool comic, and most of those toys weren't.
Well, unless you got into the Marvel UK ones or the Generation 2
right.
Transformers Generation 2 comics. Now there, the Autobots were just as gritty. It was just as gritty in those.
Yeah. See, and none of those were available, in the U.S. at the time, and certainly not in Oklahoma for them to know that, hey, yeah, there's a UK version of the comics, and not knowing that that's where the writers and stuff, Simon Furman stuff came from to make the Generation 2 comic, without them dropping hints that, hey, there's a story in between the American comics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. See, what really stuck with me in Transformers was not only the toys and the cartoon, but I loved the Marvel run. Okay, I loved the original Marvel run. I remember that once. They had Nick Fury and Shield. At least it isn't that big green stomping lizard running around or something like that. So you had Nick Fury giving a reference to Godzilla in a Transformers comic, and I thought that was a perfect trifecta there of awesome. And I'll remember that panel for the rest of my life. It was just I love the original Marvel comics. They really drew me in, and by extension, I went out of my way to get a hold of some of the Marvel UK. I wish I had more of them. I don't, but I have like maybe 3-4 issues of it, but I love them. And there again, another little nod too is that Doctor Who and Transformers, have a connected shared history. Most people don't realize it because the character Death's Head was introduced to first in Transformers by way of Doctor Who. Believe it or not, it's real. You can look it up. It's an amazing fact, and a lot of people don't realize that. It's a lot, just as many do as well, but it's those little things that drew me into the comics, because there's so many other fandoms they had nods to, or little pieces of here and there, and whereas the cartoons were nice and the colors weren't always exact or anything, but in the comics the colors are always so bright and vivid, and that drew me to characters. It really latched on. So for me, I prefer a cartoon look on the figures, but I can also appreciate others as well. I can appreciate a very toy accurate, like say, get me a Jazz that has all of the original sticker looks and everything on that. I'm perfectly satisfied, But on the other hand, I love the GF animated Jazz toy. I love it because it looks like he stepped right out of the cartoon, And so I'm a mixed bag when it comes to my figures. I'm a mixed bag, and hyper stylized, I'm not really, unless it's from an actual like a Die Gunder or Die Rugger or a Japanese robot or something. I don't much care for my Transformer figures to be hyper stylized, but that's just me. If everybody else loves it, awesome.
Unless it's Pat Lee's art, right? His Optimus and Megatron, those are probably about as stylized as I'll go.
Well, yeah, because I did buy the
Ninja Bill, I have to run. I've got dinner waiting.
All right. Take it easy. Thanks for joining us, man. And by the way, everyone, check out Input on his own channel, N-PUT Input. So put your finger on the mouse and then click it.
Yeah, he's almost to 200 subscribers, man. He's almost there.
Bravo. I got 173, I think, the last I looked, or some 172 or something around there.
I'll be 83 for you, Ninja Bill.
Well, if I get there, awesome. If not, I'll be a little disappointed. But honestly, I'm happy either way with what I have now. But anyway, thank you very much for sticking around, Input. Thank you very much for joining me. Stay safe, stay healthy, and night.
Well, thank you for having me. Thanks for the invite, and I'm sorry I got to run so early into it. But I'll make it up to you, Ninja Bill. I promise.
That's okay, man. We all got lives to lead outside of this thing, so we all got lives to lead.
We do.
But, yes,
we do.
Yeah, we do. We really do. It may not seem like it, but yeah. So for me, the cartoons is what really drew me into the comics is really what drew me into Transformers, and the cartoons sort of extended that love of it. So I don't know. So suddenly Kato had to look at what's going on. Where? What?
Yeah,
I'm all
I think it's.
close up now.
I think Kato is really excited because I noticed you just reached 600 just now. That's awesome, dude.
Wow, man, that is amazing. That is utterly amazing.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
just today. Oh,
I'm chilling at 168. Ninja Bill's at 183. We got to get over 200.
No,
We
no,
gotta get over that
I'm
200
at 183. Really?
Yeah, that's what I
I thought
see
it
on
was
here.
only like 160 or something, to be honest.
I bought and paid for those. It's amazing what you can use PayPal for.
What? Since when the hell did I have 183 subscribers? Wow.
Yeah,
I know it's not nearly as impressive as you guys, but wow.
It's all impressive. Listen, let's be honest. It's impressive that more than one person wants to hear anything we have to say.
Oh, for sure.
True. Darkonan. Well, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Darkonan, by the way, welcome to the chat. I know I welcomed you earlier, but just in case, Master Bar, welcome. Darkonan says in the chat, just Transformers. They didn't have any plans for the future at that point, so there's no reason to refer to it as G1. G1 came later. It's more of a fan moniker than anything else.
Well, what actually was retroactive because when Generation 2 came out, then it just was assumed that anything before 1992 was Generation 1.
Yeah.
So that's how we got that. And then officially, I think I don't think it was ever referred to as G1 by Hasbro. They would just call it the original Transformers. But originally, or eventually, the Japanese would have their Super Collector figures, and it would actually be branded with English letters that said Generation 1.
And let's be honest, technically you could argue that Beast Wars is G1.
You could. There is precedent. There is precedent, as they say in law. There is precedent to call it that. But what Match Bar is saying there's we're on Generation 6. Okay, I can sort of see it.
I always think that with the when you have Generation 1, you have Generation 2. Like for the longest time, it was people thought that after the movie. After the Transformers, the 86 movie, that anything after that was Generation 2. And I think that stemmed from a lot of people that saw Generation 2 on the TV screen with the Cybernet Space Cube. They saw most of Season 3, even though there wasn't very much of those episodes. But that's what they were seeing. And so they just automatically assumed that was Generation 2. Like the movie was a separation. And that was a fan thing for a very long time until more of the internet kind of spread out.
Yeah. But so I lost my train of thought. You guys say something. I lost my train of thought. Holy shit. I'm getting old.
Well, kind of speaking of that there, like I kind of thought that was kind of, as much of it was a fan thing, I was like, that actually is pretty interesting because that would have been cool to have like, okay, after the movie, Megatron's reformatted, not Galvatron, but he's reformatted into Super Megatron from like Battlestars or with the Star Convoy and everything, Return of Convoy, but also that like maybe instead of Scourge and Cyclonus and the Sweeps and everybody, it was Hooligan, it was Skyjack, it was Skyquake, it was the Turbo Masters and everybody else. Maybe those were what kind of formed his army, and then he came back to battle Ultra Magnus on All About City. That would be an interesting kind of almost like a fanfic or kind of like a retelling of that story.
Yeah, I can see it. Oh, yeah. But and I've always loved, that we got so many. We probably got more characters introduced, or I should say, more characters filled out in the Marvel UK run than we ever did in the Marvel Comics run. I mean, the characters were more fleshed out than any of the writers did originally, and that was pretty cool. I think that's what I like best about Simon Furman's writing is that he really fleshed out a lot of the characters that we now know and love and think of as that's who they are, personality-wise. And I think
as far as that goes, the Marvel UK stuff and the Japanese seasons probably fleshed out more stuff than original G1 did.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Headmasters is a good example of that too. You know, fleshing out a lot of those characters in just the Rebirth series we got.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. Is anyone else?
I'm pretty excited.
Peter said, "Is anyone else excited for the Super Megatron?" And yes.
Oh yeah, I got at least 3 of them coming, and I'm gonna make sure that I get them because I'm not missing out on this. It's a figure I've wanted a very long time since I saw that original artwork. I think it's Studio Ox artwork, and I've been waiting for that figure for all this for, man, I don't know, 20, 25 plus years now.
Let me reply to Adamantium Matrix real quick. I just give it a hard time, man. I have some Studio Series stuff. I love watching reviews of it, and I have no hard feelings towards Studio Series whatsoever. I just don't collect them.
Later, Mashbar.
But
later,
I don't hate
them. Yeah, I like the Studio Series. I do. Now, that depends on the character, too. I didn't think I'd want any of the Studio Series Constructicons, and yet the 2 I have has impressed me. Not as much as, other people would be impressed. But, they've had some decent figures, and the engineering is on par with anything. I mean, anything you care to mention for those Studio Series. A lot of the original Studio Series toys, the engineering was really complex. Then now I feel it sort of dumbed it down. I don't know how else to say it. But in the same respects, they haven't. Some really solid engineering. I just wish they had really solid materials to go along with it.
Yeah. Well,
Studio Series.
I would say for me, it's the design aesthetic, right? I just don't plainly like the Insectoid designs that Michael Bay wanted. But so when the Bumblebee movie came out, I was like, oh, I'm totally buying that Studio Series Optimus Prime. And I got it. And then I was like, oh, I see the helicopter, drop kick. And I was like, it's really small. And then I'll get the Bumblebee. And I was like, oh, it's still got some Bayverse in the robot mode. But the vehicle mode looks great. And so then I was just like, well, then Shatter comes out in vehicle mode, and I'm like, well, that's an awesome muscle car. I'm going to buy that. Then Dropkick comes out as a car, and I'm like, okay, I'll get that one. But then I see Jet Shatter in the store, and I'm like, it's too gray. It doesn't. I mean, it has the movie head, right? So it's not the concept head like the car has. So it's just like, what? I kind of like just having just Shatter and Dropkick their car modes because that's what we saw them mostly in, and. In the movie, and when Blitzwing comes out, I may get Blitzwing and then get the vehicle modes that are air modes for the other 2. But in the meantime, I've really been more interested in, kind of figuring out those 3 figures, and the Bumblebee one I wanted to get, but I've not seen one that I like. But the Cliff Jumper, Cybertronian mode Cliff Jumper, I've been interested in, so that'll be good to see that one come out.
Nice. The only real 2 Studio Series figures I want is Shockwave, and I've seen many reviews for that Jeep mode Bumblebee Studio Series, positive reviews on it. I've seen almost nothing but positive reviews, so I may pick that one up just because I've seen like 20 reviews on it, and all of them say, it's a good toy. So I'm like, oh, okay, I can swing that way too.
Yeah, there were problems, I think, with that first version of the vehicle Shatter, and she literally was shattering apart because of the materials used. But they had a second run of it, I guess, on at least Amazon stock, and then eventually that made its way to Walmart, and those didn't have any problems. But there's always growing pains with complicated designs like that.
Nice. Jay Hollow, welcome, by the way.
Hey, Jay.
And I wanted to say in the chat, I feel bad for autocorrect primer if Nikki's not feeling very good. So
yeah, I hope she is getting better. I commented, I believe it was yesterday or this morning, that I'm hoping she gets to feeling better, because it's never good when somebody's sick, especially your loved one. So I'm right there with you. I'm supporting you, buddy.
Absolutely. And congratulations to Autocorrect Primer reaching 200 subscribers too. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Reach
Awesome.
out to me on Discord, because I haven't heard from you in a while, Autocorrect.
Yeah, do that too. But yeah, so and I did manage to get a hold of Decepticon Mirage, the Netflix series. I did manage to get a hold of him. We'll be taking a look at that. I've got the very last of the Matchbox. Well, not the very last. What I showed you at the beginning before we went live. I got another figure from that guy, but for now, the last of the Matchbox reviews that's coming up Tuesday, I believe. That's going to be a premiere. I've got an unboxing video from ACP, a review of whatever he sent me coming up, and Adamantium Matrix, who is joining us in chat, sent me a package of what I don't know, but I've got that coming this week, I think, as well, and have to take a look at that. So, what have you guys got coming up? Starting with Crimson.
So, I've been a little shocked at, I did that live stream yesterday, and there were at one point there were 12 people in there watching, and most of them I all knew, and I was like, "That's crazy!" Like I was quite shocked.
Except for me, because I didn't even get the notification. Damn it!
Hey, that's okay. But I also had uploaded that Generation Select, so the Target exclusive, the Red Wing, that I've had like on sitting on my computer since February, and I just hadn't had a chance to upload it, and shocked at like it's already like over 40 views. So I'm really excited. That really gives me that motivation. Although it's not about the views, it's not about the subscribers, right? But it's the fact that people do want to see content I put out there. And I have to say the live stream was extremely nervous again. Even though I'm on here with you guys here, I'm on Tales from Teletrant. Why is there's no nervousness there? But there's nervousness when I'm on the spotlight. It was weird, and it was funny because if you watch it like I'm talking, I was like, oh yeah, I got to remember that there's nobody to talk back to me. It's only my voice. Otherwise, it's just dead air. But I'm definitely have more content out. I'm definitely going to be getting into. I got a whole bunch of upgrade parts that I have for a lot of the Siege figures, and more on the way. And actually, if Darkonin still, I don't know if he left or if he's still here, but Darkonin has some that he's letting me review as well before I send them off to him, and that's going to be some pretty cool. Hopefully they'll be shipping here soon. I know TF Safari has a lot. I'm sorry, say again, Kato?
You know what that means, Crimson? That means you have to come on Presents.
Well, I need to get on Presents too.
I would love to do that. I know, and then I'm supposed to be on around 30 with Deluxe as well, but I wanted to get that collection video out first before we did that. That we kind of had something out, but man, this is gonna be some crazy stuff coming up this year.
I gotta get a collection video out too. Holy shit, man! Thanks for reminding me.
Well, that's kind of the thing, right? That we do. We're like you brought up earlier. We're all here. We're in our collections, and I've noticed that some people have started to kind of do that. But then they're like, "Oh, does anybody want to see that?" And I was like, "Well, of course we want to see it because like we're interested. We got this whole group of people. We're interested to see the collection as it's been updated and new. Mm-hmm. So that would be really, really cool."
I've said for the longest time that what we're basically doing is the equivalent of getting toys and taking them over to our friend's house and saying, "Hey, look what I got."
It's show and tell time at school, man. And show and tell time at school. That's exactly what it is. Show and tell time. Yeah. Yep. So, Kato, moving on to you. You got anything coming up?
Nah.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
I've got to finish the Jinbao Constructicons. I've got 2 more. Well, 1, 2, 3 more videos to do in that. So I've got to do 2 more Constructicons and then Devastator, and then I've got Iron Trans Star Saber to review. I haven't done that yet. The Netflix Hot Link, got to do that, and this big monster here somehow I have to review. Do not expect to transform that on camera. It's not.
Oh, now we will. Now we will. You got to transform it on camera now.
No, the hell I
Ooh.
don't.
I don't know. That's pure diecast. That may actually hurt you if you transform it wrong.
Yeah.
The Matrix
No,
in
I
his
know. If
chest.
you don't do it, I
It's like,
will
do it
totally
now.
piggyback you.
The Matrix in his chest weighs more than most Hasbro Transformers.
Wow, that's crazy.
Welcome to the
Hey,
show,
what's up,
by the way.
Trans Aaron 38?
Hey, Trans Aaron,
Hey, what's up, guys?
who you gonna call?
Exactly. Who are you going to call?
About right, man. What's up, guys?
Up, dude.
You. That's who. You're up. Speaking of you're up, so what do you got coming up since you're new, just joined in? Tell everybody about yourself, where they find you, and what do you got coming up?
I got a trap.
Oh, I saw those at
Sweet.
Walmart. I'm so tempted.
How much
It's
are
actually
they?
pretty cool. It's actually the Spirit Halloween, the Spirit trap that came out. It's like $60 at Spirit Halloween. This is only $20, and it gets a foot pedal. It's like a foot pedal. You get a foot pedal.
Yeah,
That's
I was like super excited about that. Also, we picked up Jeep Bumblebee finally.
ah, you were just
I don't know if
talking.
you guys really. I don't know if you can see that. My lighting sucks in my other room here. Roadbuster.
Oh
Are you
yeah.
able to flip around, like have the light in front of you?
Do.
Does that work?
Oh, here we go. Maybe this will work. Yes, there we go.
There you go. Sweet.
There you go. There's
Oh, yeah, that's
Roadbuster.
nice. I almost picked him up just because he's got a really cool robot mode.
Yeah, his robot mode looks badass.
I think Deluxe just reviewed him like
Mm-hmm.
within 40 minutes ago.
And of course, I picked up the carded Ghostbuster, guys.
Sweet.
Just looks like the original 80s packaging. Is freaking awesome. And the packaging don't feel cheap. Like the cardboard's like really, really like it looks thin, but it's really, really durable. It's like that was Ray. There's Egon, not Egon. Winston.
Oh, Winston.
And it's cool
Now
that
Egon, because I was looking at
Tommy and
Egon.
Larkin's Lair showed up. So now it's a party.
Conan had a good question. He said, was there ever any one Transformer that was talked about on the schoolyard or as in demand as the USS Flag from G.I. Joe?
I would say I don't know what would it be for Generation 1 other than maybe Fortress Maximus, but I know for a lot of us on the schoolyard with like Generation 2 it was Laser Rod Optimus Prime was the one that everybody wanted.
Yeah, I don't know that there was when I was a kid. If you had the USS Flag, you had something. And I had a buddy that had it, and that bastard.
Well, in the '90s for me when I was growing up, whenever for Transformers, if you had Omega Prime from the RAD line, you were like the god in school, like Omega Prime, or if you had Galvatron or the Megatron that did the 10 changing.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think it was that was Gigatron for car
Gigatron,
robots, but
whatever
then
they
it was
called him.
Megatron here. Yeah, that thing was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that had didn't it have Transmetal kind of vacuum metallized chrome on it. I swear that it did.
I think it did. I never did own one, but I actually had a buddy that actually brought him into school today when I brought my Omega Prime in, and it was like, how we had fun, playing with our toys. It was pretty
I
fun.
don't think. I don't know what happened to Ninja Bill. He's on mute. Are you there, Ninja Bill?
He's taking a poop.
Yes,
It's
I
like he's
was.
taking a
No,
poop.
originally here, the Megatron was released, the purple one was released first, and the Gigatron, the Galvatron second. However, the U.S. reversed the release somewhat here, and that's okay. But I have both of those figures, and they are probably my favorite Megatron, quote unquote, Megatron figures ever made. They are
I like the Galvatron.
fantastic.
I like the Galvatron.
Yeah.
Larkin says
I
that
never.
Supreme was a good, and that's probably true. Omega Supreme was
Oh yeah.
you had that. That was a big deal.
Narcoman says, I mean, come on, what kid has a freaking aircraft carrier? I sure as hell do. Well, I didn't have it either. For me, it was walking into my friend's house and noticing his kid brother had an Omega Supreme and a bunch of Micromaster transports, and I was like, oh man, why am I not that kid? It's like, how can we switch places without nobody noticing?
Well, see,
Well, back
that's
then in the '90s, yeah.
Well, I think maybe one, Dark Conan brings up an interesting point. Like in the 80s, that was a big deal because that was a massive toy, and there weren't very many of those made. And so in the 90s, you had so many different lines. You had Power Rangers, you had Superhuman Samurai, Cyber Squad, you had Z-Bots, you had Micro Machines, you had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles there at the beginning. I mean, you just had Transformers multiple times. So there wasn't really that big, massive playset toy, right? A lot of them were just a lot of little toys that combined into something bigger, and they kind of didn't get any bigger than maybe Scorponok or Metroplex. So
yeah, the big bases sort of died out in the 80s. I mean, think about it.
yeah,
We had a lot of concurring lines alongside. We had Transformers, we had Mask, we had GoBots, we had He-Man, I mean, the list goes on and on and on.
I think the last. I would say the last big one is, now that I think about it, is the Jurassic Park command compound that I have. Like that had a bunch of electric fence. It was, I mean, it was a huge play set. So maybe that was the last one of its kind until later on when they started making toys.
I keep on forgetting about Jurassic Park. I actually had a buddy loved Jurassic Park, and we always tried doing with the Transformers in Jurassic Park.
Yep. They're scanning them to make the Dinobots.
Well, HasLab, you won.
Later, Adamantium Matrix. Have a good one.
Yeah, see you, man.
Oh, I forgot the other thing. I forgot the cassettes.
Oh, nice.
What were you saying, Kato? I couldn't hear you.
I said HasLab Unicron will be one of the bragging right toys to have next year.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. I sure wasn't getting it.
And
not that I didn't want to, but my wallet would have cried like.
I will have the same amount of HasLab. I'll have the same amount of HasLab Unicrons as I had of the USS Flag.
0, right? See me, I'm right there with you, man. 0.
If I could have afforded it when it was launched, I would have bought it. Absolutely.
If HasLab Unicron becomes available at Ollie's, this guy will try his best to get it.
You people in your Ollies, man. I don't even have one of those anywhere near me that I know of.
Oh, really?
So it was.
Really? No?
So we had a new one that took over at Toys R Us, and I got to tell you, I was really excited for it. I built up all the momentum, and it was nothing but a letdown because all they had was those Walgreens little Transformers Authentics. Yeah, it was that bad.
Oh, yeah.
But they did have the Star Wars Rogue One tank with the little Kyber crystal canisters. They were $20 each, and they still have tons of them. So
yeah, you have to get lucky. Like it's whenever Ollie's makes a good buy, like the Christmas after Toys R Us closed. I guess was it this past Christmas or the Christmas before? I don't know. I've slept.
Yeah, it's Christmas before, I think.
But there was tons of stuff. Like I got Triptychon for like $45 or something like that, and so they had a bunch of stuff to get in, and they had a boatload of Titans Return and Combiner Wars. Got like Overlord, so the triple changers and stuff like that. But for them, like I went to Ollie's today because they had hand sanitizer in stock, and you normally keep hand sanitizer, and now you can't find it anywhere.
Like buying gold, man. Buying gold.
Well, see, all our Dollar Trees, they finally got all their stock back, right? Because some lady bought like, I don't know, like 11,000 of them or something crazy, and they finally got all their stock back. But now they only limit you to one per person that comes in, so that includes like one for each kid.
This is like a big liquor bottle full of it. It's made by a distillery in Pennsylvania called Faber, and it smells like moonshine when you use it.
So Trans-Aaron's neck of the woods then.
Yeah, it's from a company called Faber Liquors, locally brewed and whatever. But it's real watery, and when you smell it, it smells exactly like moonshine.
Just don't drink it.
See, I was hoping that
if it didn't have antiseptic in it, you could probably drink it.
What was funny is, when all that stuff was disappearing and stuff, like all the toilet paper was, and from the Walmarts and Targets and stuff, I go to a lot of hardware stores for custom things and stuff, and I was like, well, why is nobody going to the hardware stores like Lowe's and Home Depot, because they also carry toilet paper and stuff like that. People didn't realize that, but it's just like a few dollars more. So then all of a sudden people realized that, and then they were like, oh, we got to rush all those.
Jay's in here trying to break all our hearts, man. He's up in here trying to break all our hearts. We feel you, man. We feel you. We feel you.
Oh, Jay.
Yeah, that's what I paid for mine on BBTS, and I still haven't opened it because I've had no room to display him. So I'm hoping I get the second production run and not the one with the spring that destroys itself. But I know how to fix it too, just in case it is. But supposedly you'll know when you use it the first time whether it's the bad or good one.
I was very nervous transforming it.
I was too. My first time, I was very nervous, and then Adamantium Matrix says, "No, you're good." But I still opened it up and made the change regardless, and I'm more confident after that.
Yeah, I'll probably use it as a comparator.
We're talking about Transformers here, people. It sounds like if we're not, but we're talking about Transformers.
Yes, we are. We're talking about Trypticon, to be exact. See, Darkonin says, yeah, a lot of distilleries and breweries are making hand sanitizer. Believe me, I've had some home breweries that taste just like probably any sanitizer you can think of. They definitely cleaned your insides out. I'll tell you that much.
Well, isn't that what they used back in the day? Was alcohol to like sterilize, like in like Civil War times and stuff like that, and it really did kind of work. It's just now we have stuff that's specialized just for that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You can still use it. You can still use a good strong whiskey or moonshine or liquor to clean a wound. It's just a bad use of good liquor.
Unless it's bad liquor, then go ahead. Unless it's cheap booze. There you go. Jay says, I got Superion Menasor from TJ Maxx for $40. We haven't had a TJ Maxx in my state for almost a decade.
Oh my!
Yeah, they're kind of hit or miss, but every once in a while I'll find a gym in there. Probably like once every 3 months they'll actually have something that I want to buy. Because for a while there I was buying a lot of the Marvel Universe 3 3/4 inch figures, and it was hard to find the Thor ones, even though those toys didn't sell well. But I got interested in them later after seeing the Avengers and stuff. So I was able to get a Loki that had like his little daggers and stuff, and he's a really good looking. He's like probably one of the best Lokis in the 3 3/4 inch scale.
I've never been really into the 3 3/4 inch, but I was at my local Walmart the other day, and I was talking to Adamantium Matrix while I was going through there and showing him what was available there, and I saw some of the Star Wars 3 3/4 inch ones, and I was, maybe it's just because of this whole drought thing, and they don't offer a lot of Transformers at my location. But man, I was seriously looking at them. Not only that, but man, I'll tell you what, the Black Series figures there were cheap. I'm talking $10 each, man. $10 each. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow.
Damn.
Yeah, that's a good deal for those because I know they're 20, normally, but like if you think of like maybe back in the old like even the GI Joe figures used to be what, like $5.99 or something like that. Like they were like those like they were super cheap because they were so small, and then over time like they eventually crept up to $9.99. Then when they're at Toys R Us, they crept up to like $12.99, and then people stopped buying GI Joes because they reached that threshold of too much. Even though, from my perspective, I was like, this GI Joe figure comes with 12 different like accessories, and I go over and buy a Marvel Universe like Jubilee, and it's got like one accessory. So it's like, they're 3 3/4 inch, but it's just like you get so much with this GI Joe. I can give them to all my X-Men characters.
That's something I miss with a lot of toys now, especially Transformers. Is they used to come, almost every single one of them had like 2 or 3 or more accessories, and now we're lucky to get 2. We're lucky to even get 1 in some cases.
Well, the
And
Battle
that's-
Masters have replaced that, right?
Yeah, or you got to go to a third party add-on manufacturer to get that. And sure, it's good business for those guys, and praise to them. I mean, they offer good products and something we want to add to the toys. So good on them. I got no complaints about that, none whatsoever. I bought. Go ahead.
Especially the 3D printed ones.
It's good on them. Good on them for, because there's a niche there. They found it. They're exploiting it, and they're doing a good job. As long as they're making good products, bravo. More power to them. If everybody wants to do that, if Kato suddenly wanted to start making his own, I'd be right on board with it. I appreciate that kind of thing. I appreciate accessories. I appreciate good quality materials. What I don't appreciate is getting a toy that is basically just a figure itself and nothing to go with it. And as much as I love the nostalgia only goes so far, because nostalgia says, wait a minute, my Ironhide came with 4 accessories, and now I buy one and he only comes with 1. That's kind of ridiculous. Right. But that's just me. Not everybody probably feels that way, and I understand. So, yeah.
No, that's I feel that way as well. I mean, look at growing up for me, Generation 2, we had all those spring-loaded gimmicks and those little sound effects that came with the Starscream and Ramjet jets. But those accessories have kind of disappeared. But if you had told me like before the Siege line came out, I was like, oh, they're gonna have a Soundwave. Oh, it's definitely gonna come with a cassette because they want you to have one that comes with it. It'll probably be Laserbeak. It'll probably be Buzzsaw. If they want to harken back to G1, but they'll probably be Laserbeak because that's what he's known to use a lot. And then you'll have to go get the other cassettes, right? So you can have the whole team. But then he doesn't come with one, and he comes with a useless little fold-out spear gun, sniper things, whatever, that can be attached to Megatron or attached to the Piranacon's, trident to make it longer, and all these other situations for it. But I was just like, why didn't he come with the gimmick that he has in his chest? Like, there's no reason to even have that gimmick for his chest to open if he doesn't come with something for somebody to use it. So you had to buy the cassettes, and they weren't even out at the same time that sounded.
Yeah,
they were later.
Yeah, that was kind of a dick move, I thought, on Hasbro's part. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, they sold them in 2-packs, and those Micromaster 2-packs, and so you were getting 2 toys for your money, I guess. But you're absolutely right. Soundwave should have almost every iteration of Soundwave's toys, with the exception of, say, maybe the newer 2015 Robots in Disguise Soundwave, didn't come with or all came. They all came with one of his cassettes. Now, that said, part of the RID line, there was a Soundwave and a Laserbeak, and I did pick that one up because that's pretty cool. So Laserbeak turns in is a Target Master in that one, and he's pretty cool. He's pretty cool looking, actually. And
he transforms into the guitar, right?
No. The RID one, he's in his vehicle mode, and Laserbeak can either ride on him or he activates some weapons on this Soundwave toy. Be right back. I'll show you what I mean.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Animated. That's the one that had the guitar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the animated guitar one. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just
guitar.
it's so weird to have that gimmick but not be able to use it when you buy it. But I mean, regardless, the Soundwave figure is an amazing figure in Siege.
Yeah, I love the Rat Bat in that line. It was a guitar.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Guitar. That's awesome.
I guess whenever the Rat Bat came with the redeco like Sound Blaster version, wasn't it?
I think so.
I think they
Mhm.
repainted them.
Okay, so my light here is pretty bad, but I'm talking about this RID Soundwave, right? And this Target Master Laserbeak. It's a Target Master Laserbeak, and if you stuck it into the port up there, he activated, missiles rack, and Laserbeak himself. It transforms into Laserbeak, and this Target Master, which is a 5mm peg, and you can use it on any other transformer that you care to mention. And it's pretty cool. I dig it. If
Hell
I can
yeah.
transform it. There we go. Nope. Oh, there we go. And he comes, and he's Laserbeak, and he's pretty cool looking. I like it.
I think there's a Rat Bat that they made too that looks really cool, and I was almost tempted to get that one before Siege was announced.
I don't remember Rat Bat, but yeah, I picked that up specifically because of it had Laserbeak, and sure, it still didn't have a lot of accessories, but at least it came with a Soundwave that came with one of the cassettes. Even though really now he's just a Target Master, not a cassette in any real form, but still pretty cool. And I do miss a lot of accessories. Yes, they're easily lost parts. Some people will complain about accessories. I've actually talked to people who say, no, I don't like accessories because I keep losing them. And I feel sorry for them, but I like accessories.
I like accessories that make sense. There are sometimes you'll get like a masterpiece figure or something where your bigger concern is like, the hell am I going to put this mask? I'm not going to use it. He's not going to wear it. So like or something like that. It's like I get the nod, but it's going in the bag. But I like the accessories to make sense. I also prefer my accessories to make sense in robot mode, since maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but I think most of us probably display our transformers in robot mode.
So, absolutely.
Like
except for Earthrise Optimus Prime, that one's in vehicle mode because it's cool looking.
Vehicle mode. But if they make vehicle centric accessories, I'm just like, which doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, see, I'm kind of right there with Kato. Like Shockwaves, okay, for his ship mode, the Siege Shockwave, for his ship mode, those accessories made sense. And they made little or no sense, really, for his robot mode. Oh, sure, you could add them on as some sort of armored bits, but, honestly, they could have sold that figure without that armor bits, and it would have been just fine. At a Voyager scale, and it'd have been fine.
I don't care one bit about the little skateboard drone thing. It's tucked away somewhere behind there. I don't have any of that stuff on him. So it just doesn't mean much to me.
Yeah, see? Darkona says, seems like there are a lot of younger Transformer fans that are pretty vocal about being tired of G1 getting the lion's share of the merch and attention overall. Would you say that's true or not? And I would say there are a lot of people, including us older ones, including almost everyone in this group. Well, matter of fact, everyone, my co-hosts, have all said at one point or another that they want something new. So we feel you, Darkona. We feel you. At one point or another, everyone here has said themselves that let's see something new characters, or a new take on old characters, a completely new take, not just make Optimus evil, Shattered Glass thing, whatever. I'm sorry for those of you who like Shattered Glass. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you. All right, don't pull my spark out.
What we have to admit is G1, whether folks like it or not, are the bread and butter. Like the closest thing you'll have outside of that is Baver stuff, because that's a genuine new generation of fans that it brought in. But for the most part, Hasbro has to go, I probably don't want to make another Optimus Prime, but it's going to sell.
Yep.
Um,
Because there's like six or 10 characters they know that they can bank on. They know it'll sell. They know
Well,
fans will buy them up.
at the same
That's
time, we've got to give it up to current Hasbro because they are willing to make some off the wall characters shine right now, like having a new Spinister, having a new oh God, who else? I mean, there's plenty, right? I mean, you got your
Rack and
normal
Ruin.
Jacks, your Ratchets, but at the same time,
Rack
we
and
get
Ruin.
Barricade, we get Cog, we get these kind of off the wall, not so popular characters. So I've said it before in some other things. It's really cool right now if you think about the fact that the folks designing and working for Hasbro are a G1 generation, right?
yes,
So
yeah, John Warden and his crew.
they have the same feel for nostalgia that we do, and I have to think that they feel like we do. And okay, it's time for something new, and I really hope that the War for Cybertron trilogy is going to be their way to say, here's everything for the old school G1ers and some little nods here and there to some other guys like Cybertron, Energon. I think we'll get a lot of random stuff like that coming up. Beast Wars, we'll probably get some of that. But at the end of it, I hope they're using this as a springboard to something brand new.
Well, right along those lines, Cato, look at what they did with the Cyberverse line. I mean, they brought back a lot of the old characters, but they also gave us new ones, and they introduced toys that none of us have seen of characters for a very long. Rack and Ruin. We have never had an official Rack and Ruin before, ever. Not third party. Third party won't even touch a Rack and Ruin. Okay, they won't even touch it because it's not very popular.
Makes me wonder if they're using Cyberverse in a way to test the waters to bring some of those characters to
Absolutely.
Maybe
Absolutely.
we'll like they see the fans, they see adult collectors go, ooh, Rack and Ruin, and they buy a Cyberverse one, and in the back of their head they're going, for about $30, I could sell a Voyager class Rack and Ruin with a lot more detail in War for Cybertron Part 3 or 4, because we know now there's going to be 4 parts to the War for Cybertron toy line, 4 waves.
Oh, really? I thought it was only 3.
No, it was 4 with the map that got released.
Yeah, there's 3 parts to the overall trilogy, but there's 4 parts to the toy line. So what I'm thinking is they'll have a Siege, Earthrise, whatever the next phase is, and whatever phase 4 is, I hope is a tease into what's coming next.
Yeah, and that's one thing I love about Cyberverse is the fact that they introduced I think 6 brand new characters never before seen in Transformers lore. They introduced so boom. Not only that, they brought back a lot of nostalgia. They literally brought back the G1 Prime that we all grew up with. Okay, the Transformers Optimus Prime. He had a lot of them. He was more emotional. He was funny. He told jokes. He danced. He played basketball.
He played basketball.
He did all that stuff that we grew up with Prime doing. Not just this static robotic. I've always got to be the hardline hero. That's what Prime has become in the last few decades, but that's not where he originally started, and we all, at least the 4 of us sitting here, and I would assume most of the people there in chat grew up with an Optimus Prime that was very much like any one of us, except for heroic and leadership and all that stuff,
Yeah, and I know kind of Dark Conan kind of brings up that point because of the fact that him and I are kind of in some of the same Discord servers, and you get very much people are, for lack of a different word, are very negative toward people that are interested in something different. And they like their Bayverse, they like their Unicron trilogy, and they don't like Generation 1. And there's no respect for that older. They're just like, why do we have to have everything G1? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, you have to understand that for almost 2 decades, we didn't have anything Generation 1. After when Generation 2 started, or well, really since maybe 88, for us here in the U.S., we didn't have anything G1 until, you had, some of the combiner wars and stuff like that started coming out, because you had the classics line, but there's no show attached to that. Combiner wars, they started having a show attached to it. As horrible as that show was, but you had Beast Wars, but there was animosity there. People didn't like Optimus Primal. Like, who's that? That's not Optimus Prime. And then they had the Arc and all that stuff, and then people got excited again. They're like, oh, hey, G1's coming back. Like the Transformers, the original ones are coming back, but that didn't happen. And so I don't think they don't have any understanding or appreciation of the fact that we had 17 years with nothing G1, and a couple of masterpieces doesn't really count, because that's still not a show attached to those. It's still only that 80s show in the movie. Bayverse doesn't count because it's just the same names, and it's in a design that we never asked for. So they'll have their time. Right now, I think the Unicron trilogy people, third parties, testing that water, like you were talking about earlier, Ninja Bills. Like, they're testing that water to see, okay, so we got a lot of people asking us about the Unicron trilogy. Here's a project. Here's a third-party project. Put your money where your mouth is, because we've had to do that too. The Beast Wars people have done that, and they've got their masterpieces. So now's your chance to figure out, whether that market is there, because it's always those same 20 people in those Discord servers, Dark Conan. It's like the same 20 people are like, we all love Bayverse and we all love this and that, but why is it always G1? But it's this, but because they're so much more technologically connected than the rest of us, right? Like, we've all scattered, we're different ages, and we're all scattered in different places, and we come from different backgrounds, and they're very connected with that younger sense of that technological age. And so when you end up being in a group that's small, right, then you think that everybody is like you, or that there's a lot of you, right? Like, you're their small little militia. But that's not always the case, because you have to look at that bigger picture. Be like, well, why aren't they making a masterpiece of, Cyberverse Bumblebee? Well, because
I think that
makes no sense.
I think it lends itself. I think it lends itself more to a sense of entitlement than anything else in that case. Crimson.
And let's be honest. The Bayverse designs were never meant to make sense transforming in the real world. The toy line, cartoon, and stuff like that, they were designed, back in the Diaclone days, as a vehicle that's meant to a vehicle that doesn't look like a robot, but a robot that looks like it used to be a vehicle, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Bayverse designs were this like conglomerate of CGI of moving parts that didn't necessarily transform and make sense, right? They just did, right? Like
you had 20 different locking plates just to make it look cool on screen.
It was made to look cool because Michael Bay didn't give a shit about the fans. He didn't.
Listen, and if nobody believes that, listen to the commentary. Listen to that 2007 commentary. You will understand everything about Michael Bay and why there's so much ire against him.
So he's all about the money. All about that money. That's all he's about. He's about that money.
Look what he did to the turtle.
Yeah, it's like Dark Conan just said. Bayverse, they animate whatever they need to. Like this robot needs to be a vehicle when it's said and done, so that it does its thing. So what makes Studio Series more difficult to make, Shatter look like Shatter is it was never meant to transform in the real world. So engineers right now have to go, how do we make this work? Because it was never designed to actually work. So, I mean, they work themselves into a corner by design.
And that I give to the Bayverse designs is that it definitely did make Takara, and Hasbro kind of rethink, like, how are you going to make this work so it looks like on screen, and so that's a really cool thing that they did, try to find a way to re-engineer, kind of basically recreate the wheel. And I think that at least the Bayverse Divine pushed them toward those limits. Now they were going to come out, and people don't always remember this. They already had the Classics line, that Classics Optimus Prime. They were going to make a deluxe version of it and a trailer. You know, they were working toward that direction, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then everything stopped, and they were like, okay, well, we're going to do this movie with Paramount. It's going to be a live action Transformers. And they were like, well, we're going to have a year of nothing on the shelf. So let's push out these classic designs that we do have done. And they sold very well. But then the movie took over because all the marketing and everything had been put into it.
Yeah.
So,
and I do thank the movies. I do thank the movies, because if it wasn't for the movies, we wouldn't have the figures we have now.
Absolutely.
Period.
So I don't agree with that. I definitely don't agree with that.
Those movies funded the figures, in part, the figures that and the other collectibles that we have now. That's just a fact.
It wouldn't be in the forefront of modern pop culture if it weren't for the movies. I don't think at all. It brought interest back. Jay Hollis says that people are too hard on Bayformers. I'm not hard on the idea of the movies and the need to have something new and fun. Not at all. I went to the movies and was like cheering it on as soon as I saw Optimus Prime transform. What I'm hard on is Michael Bay himself and his idea for it, because he didn't give a shit about the fans, and in essence could have the Bumblebee movie, which fixed a lot of the design aesthetics that Bayformers missed. Michael Bay said no one's going to love a G1 looking. It's not going to make sense. It'd be stupid. It would be horrible on screen. He had all these things.
And look what Bumblebee did. I mean, it would have done better at the theater if we hadn't had if we just hadn't had maybe The Last Night and Age of Extinction. But it definitely would have done better if that had been the 2007 movie. And I don't think you'd see as much splintering as there is now.
Yeah. And the thing is, if they weren't so willing to pussyfoot around the fact that do we keep it connected to the Bayverse, or does the Nightverse do its own thing? If they were willing to say, all right, we're just going to do whatever we want, I think the Bumblebee movie would have been even better. But at the same time, you started to get designs on screen that were reminiscent enough to G1 without being locked into G1, right? So you got this. You see Soundwave on screen, you're like, I can tell who that is, right? It's different enough to be new, but I know who that character is. And
Blitzwing confused the hell out of everybody. I mean, he looked like so much like Starscream. We thought it was Starscream. Turned out to be Blitzwing. Right. But still, it was recognizable enough that everybody thought it was one thing, even though it turned out to be another. And, Kato's absolutely nailing it. Absolutely nailing it. And Darkonin said, even if I don't care for him, I give credit where it's due. And a simple fact is and I know you disagree, Crimson, is that without the movies, Hasbro got the money to invest into new toys, new lines, and whatnot from the movies.
And
the movies
and a new generation was introduced to Transformers. I've got friends that I follow on Instagram that I talk to all the time, where the Bayverse is their G1. They love it as much as I love the '86 movie. And they're not wrong, right? That's their
right.
How they're wrong. They are right. That's their G1, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. What I don't like is, all right, it's like Adamantium Matrix said earlier, I'm not a big fan of studio series for Bayverse, and I'm not. But that doesn't make someone who is wrong. And the minute that my opinion of one thing, instead of being my opinion about a figure, starts becoming my opinion about the person that buys the figure, I'm an asshole. Plain and simple. Like if me liking G1 turns into me hating you because you don't, I'm right, and I need to shut up. And vice versa. if
I'm
you
right there with you, brother. I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you.
if you liking Bayverse becomes you hating me because I don't like Bayverse, fuck yourself. I don't want nothing to do with you.
There you go.
I ain't got time for people like that.
Bravo.
Well, see, my situation is, kind of knowing back then and kind of what was going on is the Cybertron, the third install of that series. You had Armada, you had Energon, you had Cybertron. The toys were getting expensive. And nowadays we'd think they were a deal, but the toys were getting expensive. The toys were getting blockier. They had more gimmicks with them, so they were kind of more G1 like in that respect, but they had some articulation. But the Cybertron version of it in line, but then the movie kind of changed stuff. So what the movie did is it didn't fund future, like the Siege line and everything else like that. I mean, you could say that those designers, they're not even working at Takara or Hasbro anymore. But what that did do is it brought in a whole crop of people who weren't even remotely interested in Transformers, and those that were completely unaware that Transformers was even still around, because a lot of those shows were aimed directly toward children and not toward, a blockbuster movie audience. And so that brought in a whole new crop of people just for the movies. We had a whole plethora of toys and everything. So I think classics, as much as that was selling great and they had to cut it short because of the movie, I think classics would not have sold as many as the movies. I can totally say that. But classics would have been like a mini Siege of its time, and it just wasn't there yet, right? And those figures are still good. Those classics figures are still good, but they're a mixture, right? They're very much a generations, because you had like Cheetor that had a blend of his Transmetal 2 self, his original Beast form, and the Beast Machines version. So they were working toward a unified kind of character base for it. So, but I don't. It just brought in new people. Is kind of what I'm saying. It didn't fund. Like, okay, it funded this movie, funded that movie until it stopped making as much money as they wanted, and then eventually, well, yeah, I'll go ahead and fund I'll produce your Bumblebee movie, and we'll see what it does.
That the two are not mutually exclusive. Honestly, the two are not. Your opinion and my opinion are not mutually exclusive ideas. I think they mesh at some point there. So I understand what you're saying, and I agree with much of it. Mm-hmm. But I also really strongly feel that the movies not only reinvigorated the Transformers as a franchise, but really helped it grow to where it is today.
Yeah,
I think if the toys had not sold as poorly in Cybertron, and I think that if Hasbro had a better agreement with Paramount to have more creative control and less creative control for Michael Bay, I think we would have saw something different. But they were kind of in a rock and a hard place. They were like, look, if this live action movie thing doesn't do well, then we don't know what we're going to do, because we may have to suspend the brand for a while, because we lost a lot on that Cybertron toy line. But classics would have brought some of it back, but would it have been enough to sustain it? That's the real question. We don't know.
There was no new fiction for classics. Like the movies came along and brought in a new fiction, which reinvigorated the franchise, which brought in new people, which funded more stuff, which said, hey, now there's a new generation of people to sell toys to. And that's why we got the first line of toys for the movies were cheap. Like the toys weren't that great until like the studio series kicked off, when we started getting the engineers were able to say, hey, maybe we can make this thing look somewhat like the movie figure and the vehicle. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think we're all right. I think it's a mixture of all of that. So
yeah, it's not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, I think that bringing in new people with the live action movies reinvigorates the line and brings interest in, because I wasn't buying comics when they announced the Transformers movie. As a fan, I immediately said, I wonder what's out there to buy, because I had missed out on RID, Energon, all those toys I completely missed out on. And around the time, I'd say somewhere around the time of the Bayverse movies, the War for Cybertron video game was out, and there was some of those figures were rolling about. And I remember walking into a Kmart and seeing War for Cybertron, is it Fall of Cybertron, Soundwave. And I was like, oh man, that's kind of cool. So I bought it. I wasn't a collector at the time, but just the whole talk of the movies coming up or coming out and everything that was going on with that, I mean, it brought my interest back in, and it started me looking at, man, what have I been missing for all these years? What's out there? And I know that I can't be the only one that happened to.
Yep. And with
Yeah,
that, I think I'm going to. Oh, I'm sorry, Crimson. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna go, and that's one of the cool things about that is that at the same time you had the IDW comics, right? A lot of people weren't aware of those, and I was collecting some of them. I kind of stopped reading at some point, but those stories are pretty dark. Some of them. I mean, I know you're kind of getting. I think you're into phase 2 now, aren't you, Kato?
Oh, the IDW stuff, yeah.
Yeah,
but I read the Dreamwave stuff, and I loved it.
Yeah, and so the IDW stuff, I think the Dreamwave stuff didn't go far enough, but the IDW stuff is definitely very violent, very
adult. It didn't help that they went bankrupt.
Yeah.
It didn't help that they went bankrupt.
True too. But yeah, that's that we had the Generations line, and that had a really cool kind of engineering feat with it as well, and it would have been interesting to see what like a what if they didn't go Bayverse, they did their 3 movies, Dark of the Moon, and then after that they went, okay, let's make an IDW movie, and bring in different characters, different situations, live action or not, animated or not, that would have been interesting to see that kind of parallel universe where that happens, kind of like a Sliders universe, right? Like a
Slider. Wow, there's a show I haven't heard in a long time. With that, I'm going to close the show tonight. But before we all go, I want to do a round of who you are, where people can find you, and we will do this clockwise. So, Crimson Raptors, you're up.
You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Twitter at Crimson, like the color Raptors, RAPTORS. And Kato, wait, is it around the clock? So Kato's next?
Yes.
Yeah, Kato, where can I find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Katos_collection, Twitter at Katos Collection, although I have no idea how to properly use Twitter. I don't have an excuse for that. I just suck at it. And Katos Collection on YouTube. I think that's it. Oh, and T-Formers. You can find me on tformers.com there. And most Saturdays when I'm not a lazy prick, I am on Tales of Teletran with Crimson Raptors, Input, Rolling Redneck Reviews, and sometimes other people. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
And Trent.
All right, yeah, you guys will find me on Instagram as TransAaron38, and on YouTube, same thing. And I do have a Twitter, but I forgot the whole thing. Used to have a Twitter, but there's also I got a Facebook group page called TransAaron Cyberturning and Pit Stop too on Facebook. So we get on there and share pictures and stuff.
Awesome. And I am, of course, the host here, NinjaBill 1000. You can find me, NinjaBill 1000, on YouTube. As if you already didn't know, you're here, you're watching, you're listening. There you go. I'm also on Facebook, Shinobi Biru on Facebook, and at Twitter. I'm almost, I had Twitter for years and I just forgot it. It even existed. Barely use it. Still barely use it. So, but at NinjaBill01 on Twitter. Instagram, which I'm not using right now, is because I they don't like my phone number apparently, so I can't log into it. So I can't use it right now, but it is NinjaBill 1000 as well. And on Discord, I am NinjaBill. And with that, I want to thank all my co-hosts tonight: Crimson Raptors, Kato, TransAaron38, TFN Geek, who was here earlier, Input, who was here earlier, and everybody in chat: Jay, Darkonin, Larkin, Inutabi, Master Far, everybody, Wildfire, everybody who stopped by, say hello and hung out with us. Thank you very much. Make sure you guys check out everybody else's channel here. Make sure you're doing all the liking, all the subscribing, all the bell icons, all the sharing, all that good stuff. Stay safe, stay healthy, and above everything else, be good to each other. thank you for watching with us. And thank you for spending your time with me. And yeah.